Hi, everybody. This is Professor D, and I want to talk a little bit about engagement. And specifically, let's talk about engagement within asynchronous or synchronous remote learning. So, traditionally, um, we have instructors that are a little shy. We have instructors that are caught between a rock and a hard place when it comes to being on video because of their own personal professional issues. Um, there, at some point somewhere, there was a memo that was sent out that said you need to be rigid and you need to be professional, and otherwise the students aren't going to take you seriously. I get it. There's a colleague who actually shared that he was concerned about being too much of himself because he's been the target of not bullying but trolling, so to speak, from students, and I get it. Um, Although I haven't, well, I have experienced it a little bit in another at another time. Ultimately, what I think is the most important, what I want everybody to remember is that the greatest insult that you can get as an online instructor is that the students don't remember who you are. You have a I bump into students and I ask them about their classes and they say, um, yeah, I don't remember the professor's name, but yeah, it was all right. Okay, that's not a good reaction to an online course or any course for that matter. And granted, this is not just about online. There are plenty of face-to-face courses that are not that great, and instructors that aren't teaching at the highest level for whatever reason. But I'm going to focus on the online world and specifically about video. And granted, we do have some students that have limitations in terms of their sight and their ability to hear. Yes, absolutely. But no matter what, as instructors, we all have an opportunity to connect with students in a way that helps them to become better learners. And so, one thing that I want to emphasize is that it's okay to show your personality. Now, granted, I'm right here and I've got a bright shirt on and I'm talking to you in a way that is not monotone, and I'm trying to really get your attention. And you see my hands flailing all over. That's more engaging than just and in the classification of blah, blah. There's a difference. Okay. And part of it is this idea of speaking to the student through the screen. Now, if you're remote, obviously they're there and you're here and they can interact with you. But even then, you have to be engaging, just like being in the classroom. One of the best practices is to walk around the room, to touch the table, so to speak, when you're going around, and use the names of your students. Some of these things still apply to the online environment. I make a note to call on at least 20 students in every remote class session. Samantha, how are you doing? John, tell me more about this. Martha, can you give me an example? That's pretty standard. Okay, so try to be yourself, and let me give some examples. Show your personality in a sense where you become somebody that the students can connect with. Now, granted, you don't need to share your deep, dark secrets, but you might say, I love Spider-Man. Ah, I love Spider-Man. You love Spider-Man. The idea is that the student who loves Spider-Man is going to connect with the instructor a little bit more because they have a common bond. Okay, I have a little Spider-Man guy right here. See, oh, Spider-Man. And the reason why I have him is he's positioned right over my other camera that I use in some of my courses. And so it's a reminder for me to look in that direction. I have Spidey looking at me right now. That little thing, silly as it may seem, is going to connect with at least one student, probably. Maybe, if you have 5 students in your class, that's maybe you don't have that connection. But you're going to connect with a student that likes superheroes, that likes action figures, that likes the movies that are associated with Spider-Man. And that's just one example. If you have a pet, allow the pet to get in the screen. Show your Pomeranian, show the kitty cat that you have, show your ferret, show your bird, doesn't matter, okay? Because somehow that's probably going to connect with the students. And let me give you a very specific thing. And I do have a document that speaks to this in the materials and resources area. You can intentionally, without the students necessarily knowing, share a part of your personality each week of the course. Let's say that you have a 15-week course. You can put it in your notes as part of your prep. Talk about favorite movies. Okay. So I love The Never-Ending Story. My best friend made fun of this. His whole family made fun of this movie. My wife made fun of this movie, but I love that movie. And I know there's a lot of other people out there that love it. And granted, I'm sure none of my students have seen it, but that's my favorite movie. And then there's Die Hard and Gladiator and a few, Office Space, which is a classic. Sharing these things may connect with a student. And again, who knows the age group that we're teaching? There's plenty of adult learners that are probably older than me. And a lot of the classes that I teach on pedagogy, they're much older than me. And so we find that common ground. Favorite books, favorite destinations for travel and tourism, favorite dishes for food. People love to talk about food. Sports teams. I tell instructors, wear something that shows your team off. If you're a Lakers fan, wear a Lakers shirt. If you've got a hat, yes. Is it professional? A lot of people would say, don't wear a hat in your class. Okay, don't make it a habit necessarily, but every once in a while, wear the hat. That is going to connect you with students in such a different way. Ultimately, you want them to be more connected to you so that they actually take in a little bit more information and more knowledge and participate a little bit more. Otherwise, they're just going to hide in the back of the class, either virtually or for real. Okay. So engagement is a number of things. Part of it is showing your personality, but part of it is using tips and tricks to make sure the student knows that they matter. So I'm going to share a couple more things. So one, I talked about mentioning their names during the class. If you're using Zoom, WebEx, or another platform, if you're doing live video, but even if you're doing an asynchronous course, you should be doing some type of office hours. When I do a remote course, every class session, I have them change their name I use Zoom primarily. I have them change their name on Zoom, and I'll have them include, like for a marketing class, favorite type of gum, or favorite car, or favorite brand of coffee. So you have your Starbucks, your Dunkin' lovers, and they all put all that up there. Again, this engages them a little bit more, and it also helps them to create bonds with each other because, oh, you love Toyota, I love Toyota. You love Spider-Man, I love Spider-Man. You love the Knicks, I love the Knicks. And so you're helping create those bonds, which is really, really important, especially within online learning. The other thing is to convey that they matter also through email. Okay, so if you have a fully asynchronous course and you're not meeting on video all the time, then send an email out once a week that references the work that has been submitted the previous week. So assignments, projects, discussions, etc. And mention, Kwame said this, Lily Beth said this, and you're making the students feel that they matter by mentioning their name. Okay. So these are just a few tips and tricks. The biggest thing that I would say is don't be stoic. Don't be rigid. Be yourself. And I know that that concerns some of you, and some of you just aren't comfortable in front of a camera, but find a way to get comfortable. And if you're not comfortable, do things that will help you become more comfortable. Bring in props, bring in things that are going to help. And if you really want to go a super step, And I'd love to hear back from some of you that do this. And you could work with your department or your college to do this. Put together kits for your online students and send them to them and do an unboxing together. And I have stuff that's here behind me with lays and coloring books and photo booth little things and little hats. Have fun with it and create a community within your classroom, because the students, as a result, are going to be more engaged and they're not going to forget who you are if they know who you are. All right, that's it for now. See you soon. If you have any questions, please email me and check out the other videos. Bye-bye.